Hello, 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 everyone. We are about to start already. Hello, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Great. If you can hear and see me well, please, please, please be so kind to put a plus in the chat box. If everything is fine and everything is okay, and you can see and hear me okay. Perfect. Great, 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 great. Right. So let's have some time to allow participants to come in for our webinar, and we are to start in just 3 minutes. Good evening, good evening. Okay, great. As we are all gathering together, may I ask you, as a first step, could you write the city where you are from? That would be really great to know. What cities we are having today? Oh, Tashkent, great. Semi, Osh, yes, great, great. Yes, perfect, perfect. Great, okay. Perfect, so many cities. Yeah, okay. Ust-Kabinagorsk, Pavlodar. That's amazing. So many people. Great. Uzbekistan, Astana. Again, Uzbekistan. Oh, Armenia. Here it is. Great, great. Even Indonesia, Tashkent. Yes, perfect. Okay. Good, good. Okay. Let's wait a couple of minutes for people to be all together.
Hi, Elena. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely
Okay,
fine.
great.
Yeah, thanks, Alexander. Let's wait a couple of minutes and we'll start. People coming. Hello.
Hi, team.
Hello. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. Okay. We are ready to start just in a minute. Okay. Let's have a couple of minutes just and we'll start. Okay, hello everybody and welcome. I am your moderator today and my name is Yelena. So I'm also a country manager for Armenia, Belarus, Central Asia and Russia at Cambridge University Press and Assessment. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join us today as we talk about teaching English qualifications. So today we are ready to share some tips in our virtual conference just to help you overcome all challenges and build confidence in effective exam preparation for TKT, or probably with us you start your Cambridge journey like no other with CELTA and DELTA, and of course become a teacher you want to be. May I now introduce you Alex with some housekeeping.
Thanks a lot, Elena. So my name is Alex. I'm a customer services support manager who is looking after quite a number of countries in Central Asia, in the Middle East, Turkey as well. So just a few words on the housekeeping, because I know that quite a number of you are already acquainted with our webinar platform and are used to, well, to visiting, to participating in our webinars. So just a few words. First of all, we hope you have no troubles with your internet connection. If you are running several programs, have several tabs open in your browser, to avoid any technical issues, we recommend to close them. And you may also want to unplug any devices you are not wanting to use for the next 2 hours. If the video appears fuzzy or the sound quality drops, you may need to refresh or try another browser. We strongly recommend using Chrome, but Firefox is a very good alternative. If you have any questions, please be sure to type them either in the chat box or in the question box. Just to let you all know that this section is recorded, and we'll be happy to share all the materials of today's presentations with you early next week. So there were some questions, Yelena, in the chat box, whether everyone is muted. So just again, please type in all your questions in the chat box or in the question box. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alex. And just some dates for you to remember. So we, as Cambridge University Press and Assessment, are very happy to invite you to participate in our Cambridge English Teacher Competition, where teachers will need to complete an online test, which consists of 60 multiple choice TKT questions, just for 60 minutes to take the test. And the final part for lucky 16 teachers will be in the format of the C1 advanced exam. So this competition will start in November, and in January you are invited to a series of webinars about TKT. So this is a 3-day training course for teachers. This is free, and if you are interested in a professional development and if you want to know more about core TKT modules, please register and visit our webinar. So you will be sending invitations for competition and training program via email. However, our Telegram channel, especially for teachers in Armenia and Central Asia, delivers latest news on current events, including all competitions, webinars, Cambridge exams, and of course materials. Okay, I'm talking too much, I think. And now I'm ready to introduce Tim Banks. So Tim Banks is the product manager for Teaching Qualifications. And what's that actually? So as far as we understand, our team is responsible for understanding the needs of teachers, trainees, and training companies, and translating these into developments of our qualifications. So I'm ready to introduce Tim. And you're welcome, Tim.
Hello, thanks Elena, and thanks Alex, and thank you all for joining the conference today. So I'm based in Cambridge. As Elena says, I'm the manager for our teaching qualifications, which I'll talk a bit more about now. So I'm going to introduce them over the next 20 minutes or so, and there should be a little bit of time for a few questions. So as Alex said, if you could drop any questions in the chat, I'll hopefully have time to answer those before I finish. So I'm based in Cambridge. It's a rather miserable day today, very wet, windy and grey. So I hope it's better where you are. But without further ado, let me continue and introduce to you the teaching qualifications. You may know some of these, you may know all of them already, but I'll give you an overview, and then over the rest of the 2 hours, you'll hear a bit more detail about people's experience with them. So first of all of our work in teacher development is about giving you, the teachers, the confidence to go further, to do more for your learners and for yourselves. So these are the kind of principles behind it. We believe that better teaching leads to better learning outcomes for learners. So we think that by developing our own skills as teachers, we can provide a better service to our learners, and ultimately they'll learn better. They'll learn English more effectively than they would otherwise. We also believe that professional development builds the skills and the confidence that you need as a teacher. So it's very much about skills and confidence. So building the skills that you use in the classroom, but also the confidence to apply those skills in the setting where you're teaching. And of course, our qualifications are recognized globally by thousands of employers, and you can find a recognition database, of course, on the Cambridge website where you can search for particular examples of that. But they're the best recognized qualifications around the world. Also, all of our qualifications and courses and online courses, face-to-face training, and our qualifications are linked to the Cambridge English Teaching Framework. So you can see on screen here the summary level of the framework. This is just the summary. I'm sure you won't be able to read it very easily there, but you can go on our website and find all of this. It's freely available. And also all the detail behind the summary. So that sets out 4 stages of development, if you like, of a teacher, and the 5 key areas: learning and the learner, teaching, learning and assessment, etc. And you can use this to look at the can-do statements and identify where you think you are on the framework. And from that, you can develop a plan of where you want to get to and how you're going to get there, whether that's using our qualifications or working with your colleagues or whatever. So it helps you to do that. And there's also a professional development planner, which you can use to help you find your way through this. The qualifications, as I say, are all linked to this, so they're at particular levels. And what are our qualifications for teachers? So in a very high-level summary, the TKT, the Teaching Knowledge Test, is designed really for teachers who, they may be new teachers entering the profession, or they may be more experienced teachers who want to show the development, to show the effectiveness of the development that they've done and prove their teaching knowledge. So they want perhaps to set a goal. So if you want to set a goal for yourself and say, I'm going to look at this area of teaching and improve my knowledge in that area, and I want a certificate to show that I've got there. Or if for your employer or for potential employers, you need to demonstrate your knowledge of English language teaching, then TKT modules can help you do that. What is it? It's a series of 5 modular tests. So it's the tests, it's exams, which you take, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about those in a moment. CELTA and DELTA are very different because they're not tests, they're not exams, they're course-based qualifications. So for both CELTA and DELTA, you take a course and you're assessed during the course. So you get training from your trainers on the course. They also watch you teach, they support you in preparing for teaching, and they assess your skills as well. So it's a course-based qualification. CELTA, primarily aimed at teachers who are starting out or teachers with some experience but who want to develop their skills further and prove their skills, particularly in the areas of communicative language teaching. So it's popular, for example, with teachers who've perhaps done a teaching degree or a master's in teaching English, but perhaps haven't had the classroom experience. They've done a lot of theory, they've studied methodology, but haven't really had the feedback on their actual practice in the classroom. So it gives them that kind of hands-on development that will help them, give them a big boost to their skills, as well as giving them better employment opportunities. Delta, in the same way, a course-based qualification, and there are 3 modules of Delta which can be taken together as one qualification or independently over any period of time. And it's similar to CELTA, but for more experienced teachers. So typically teachers would take CELTA first, and then a couple of years later, they'll take Delta. So it's more for people who have more of the classroom experience, and it deepens their knowledge, helps them to understand more about what they're doing, why they're doing things, and to extend the range of their skills in the classroom and develop their career and the potential for moving into higher level positions. So that's the very high level view. Looking in a little bit more detail, I won't go into huge detail because other people are going to talk more about these in a moment, but an overview. So TKT, the Teaching Knowledge Test, is flexible, it's accessible, it's the most accessible, the easiest to take of all our qualifications for teachers. It's 5 modules, which I'll show you what they are in a moment, and you get a certificate for each module that you take. So as you take the modules, you collect a certificate for each of them, and it shows the level you've achieved in those. Each of the modules follows the same format. So for each test, there are 80 questions in 80 minutes. Those questions are usually divided into tasks of, say, 7 or 8 questions, which are related to a text. So you read a text and you do a task that's related to that with 6, 7, 8 questions. And together that makes 80 questions in each of the tests. Test dates are on demand for our exam centres, so you need to register for TKT for an authorised examination centre. But they can arrange test dates. So if there's a group of people, for example, who want to do a test at a particular time, they can arrange a test for them. Why do you take TKT? As I say, it's to prove your knowledge, to demonstrate the progress that you've made and the knowledge that you've acquired. You can take as many modules as you need, so it gives you that flexibility. You can just take one module now, another one next year, or you can take all 3 of the core modules at the same time and add on the specialist modules when you need them. And the other important thing with TKT is that you can prepare in a way that suits you. So we don't provide an authorized preparation course in the same way that we do for CELTA and DELTA. It's up to you how you want to prepare. That can be based on taking a course, or it can be independent study. It's entirely up to you to decide. So what are the 5 modules of TKT? The core modules, module 1, 2, and 3, cover the areas you see there. So first module is about the background to language teaching, so it's more about the theory, the methodology. The second module is more about planning, so using materials, that kind of thing, so how you prepare for lessons and develop lesson plans. And module 3 is more about the practical classroom management, so what you actually do during the lesson when you're teaching. So they build from theory through preparation into delivery in the classroom effectively as you go through the 3 modules. You don't have to take them in that order. You can take them in any order you like. Or as I say, you can take 1, you can take 4 modules. It's up to you. TKT Young Learners is one of the specialist modules. As it says, obviously, it's more about teaching young learners, and it covers elements that are in module 1, 2, and 3 of the core modules, but all in the context of teaching young learners. And by young learners, we mean what I think of as primary learners, so from ages of 6 to 12, roughly speaking. Same format as the other modules, 80 questions in 80 minutes. And the 5th module, TKT CLIL, the Content and Language Integrated Learning, is more for people who are teaching a subject in English and supporting the development of learners' English at the same time as teaching the subject. So you may be, for example, you could be teaching geography to a group of students, but you're teaching them in English, and English is not their first language. So as well as teaching them geography, you're also teaching them the terminology about geography. You're helping develop their general English skills at the same time. So that's what CLIL is about. It's becoming increasingly popular these days because there are lots of schools which are introducing some subjects taught in English or elements of the subject being taught in English, particularly around some of the maths and sciences, for example. And again, follows the same format, 80 questions in 80 minutes. All of the 5 modules at the moment are paper-based tests. So you enter through an exam centre and they arrange the exam for you, and you go to the venue and take a paper-based test. In terms of preparation, there are lots of materials that you can use that are available either for independent study or for use with a preparation course. So there are some that we provide for free. There's a handbook for each of the tests, which tells you a lot more detail about what's in the test, the syllabus, and there's also a sample test in the handbook, and you can find those on our website, so you can download them. There's the Teaching Knowledge Test Glossary, which gives a list of terms that are used, of terms for methodology and that kind of thing, which are used within the tests. And there is a separate sample test as well for each of the modules. Also, all of these available for free on the Cambridge English website. And then there are also published books and courses. So there's the TKT course for modules 1, 2, and 3. There's a TKT course for the CLIL module. And soon there's going to be added to that a TKT course for the Young Learners module. So that will be published in the near future. And there's also an online course for the TKT course, modules 1, 2, and 3. Or you can buy it as an ebook as well, for example. So there's a range of different things that you can use, resources you can use to help you prepare. And as I say, how you prepare is really up to you. So that's about the TKT. CELTA, as I mentioned right at the beginning, is very different. CELTA and DELTA are both course-based qualifications, so you have to take a course to take CELTA. CELTA is not an acronym. It doesn't actually stand for anything. It's the Certificate in Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So it's a certificate level course. Why take CELTA? Well, I'll give you a few reasons in a moment, but I'd recommend that you either go to our website or go to YouTube and Cambridge English TV, and you can look at candidates talking about their experience, why they took CELTA and what they got from it, how the experience worked for them and what the benefits were, how they enjoyed it. But I won't play the video now. You can go and look at that for yourselves. But a couple of the key reasons. CELTA gives you the skills, knowledge, confidence, and hands-on teaching experience to start teaching or to develop your teaching. So it combines background information about how people learn languages, how to teach English language, with the hands-on teaching. And hands-on teaching is really what's at the core of CELTA. So from day one of the CELTA course, in many cases, you'll start teaching a class right from the very first day. It may only be for 15 minutes on the first occasion, but you'll be given feedback on how you're teaching. You'll be observed, given feedback by the other people on the course, as well as by your trainers in a constructive, helpful kind of way. So there'll be, throughout the course, you'll develop your teaching as you go along. And as the graduate says there, it changed her job prospects overnight. So it really helped her to move on in her career by completing the CELTA qualification. And an experienced teacher here, so someone who was already teaching and already teaching when they took CELTA, but saying nevertheless, it was a life-changing experience. So it helped them really develop that confidence in the classroom, helped her to feel that she was really delivering for her students. So one of the main reasons that people take CELTA is because it helps them get jobs. It's asked for by employers. So if we did a survey of international adverts for English language teachers, 70% of them mentioned CELTA by name in the advertisement, saying, yeah, CELTA is or an equivalent is a requirement for the job. That's particularly so in the UK, but also internationally. So in places like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, 72% of ads were asking for CELTA by name. So that's one of the key reasons, is that employers ask for it, so that recognition is crucial. So what happens in a CELTA course? All CELTA courses follow the same requirements. They meet the same requirements. It doesn't matter how you take a CELTA course, they'll all include the things that you see on this slide here. So 120 hours of study, of directed tutor-supported study, and at least 80 hours of supported self-study. And that self-study includes things like writing assignments, preparing lessons, doing background reading. So in total, you can expect around 200 hours of study during the course. Courses can be taken in a number of ways. They can be intensive over 4 or 5 weeks. So if you think 200 hours, that means about 50 hours. If you do it over 4 weeks, 50 hours a week. So it's quite an intensive experience. It's not something you could do intensively while you're working. You'd need to take time out from work, from other activities to focus on CELTA. But you can also do it part-time over various periods. Centres decide on the length of course that's appropriate where they are. So it can be over 3 months, it can be over 9 months. It depends what meets the needs of people taking the course in their location. Your course would always include 6 hours of directed observation of experienced teachers. So you're watching people who are already at an experienced level of teaching and commenting and discussing what they do in the classroom. So learning from watching people who are already experienced. You get supervision of your planning of lessons. So the trainers work with you when you're planning lessons. They don't plan it for you, of course. That's not what they're there to do. But they can advise, they can help shape the lessons. And typically they'll do more support at the beginning of the course, and over time they'll do a bit less. They'll just comment on what you're planning. And the core part of the course is the assessed teaching practice. So you'll do 6 hours of assessed teaching practice, usually divided into 8 or 9 lessons during the total course. And those will all be observed and assessed by your course trainer. You also observe your fellow trainees' teaching practice, and they observe you. So one of the things that happens after you've taught is that you work together in a group with the people in your teaching practice group, and they give you some feedback. They tell you things they think you did really well, what they've learned from watching you, and also give you some suggestions for how you may develop for further lessons. And then you get tutorials during the course. So you'll have a one-to-one tutorial at least twice, usually 3 or 4 times with your course trainers as you're going through the course. So you talk to them individually, they give you feedback, they ask you for your feedback on the course and on how things are going for you. So it's very supported, it's very collective effort. So usually the trainees and the trainers get to know each other very well, they work very closely together, and it's a real experience of the group. Assessment is throughout the course, so there's no test, there's nothing that you're tested on at the end of the course. It's based on your progress by the end of the course. So throughout the course you're being assessed on your teaching practice, and that builds to the final assessment. You also do 4 written assignments during the course, and to pass the course you need to pass both the written assignments and the teaching practice element. There are 3 passing grades: Pass, Pass B and Pass A. Typically not many people fail. There are some candidates who withdraw because they feel that it's just not the right course for them, or they're just not able to cope with it for some reason, or they have other things happen that prevent them completing. But of those that finish, 95% pass the course. The majority get a pass, fewer get a Pass B, and only around 5% get a Pass A. So Pass A is very quite rare and very exclusive. The ways to take CELTA. So you need to take CELTA through an authorised teaching qualification centre that's authorised to deliver CELTA courses. But there are different ways that you can take the course. And again, it's up to you which one is most suitable for your situation, for your context. You can take it face-to-face. The traditional way is to take a face-to-face course where you do training either partly online and partly face-to-face, or a combination of some sort. But the important differentiation is the teaching practice. So on what's called a face-to-face course, all of your teaching practice is done in the classroom. So you're in a classroom with the students, teaching them live, and the trainer will be in the classroom. Your other trainees, your colleagues will be there observing you in the classroom as well. An online course, usually the training will be delivered fully online. So you'll get trainer support in the same way, you get the same kind of input, but it's all delivered online. And the key thing again is the teaching practice. So for an online course, all of your teaching will be done in an online, in an online learning environment. So you'll be delivering your teaching over computer in some way, usually on some sort of, on a platform that meets requirements that we set up. So you can have breakout rooms and things like that. So you put learners into breakout rooms during lessons. You deliver some of the teaching to the whole class. And again, it's observed in the same way by your trainer and your trainees, and you have the same feedback session afterwards. The other alternative is to do a combination, what we call mixed mode, where again, face-to-face or online input, or a combination of those. The key thing is the teaching practice again. If it's a mixed mode course, then you have to do some of your teaching face-to-face in a classroom and some of your teaching in an online learning environment, usually half and half, so 3 hours face-to-face and 3 hours online. So the requirements for all of these modes that you could take the course in are exactly the same. The certificate that you get at the end is exactly the same. There's no difference in those terms. It's just the way really that the teaching practice takes place that is the big difference. And of course, if you're doing it online, you don't have to go to the centre. So some of the countries in Central Asia, there may be one centre in the capital. You can't travel there for and stay there for 4 weeks. It's very expensive, so it's more convenient, it's more viable to take the course online. Okay, moving on to talk a bit about Delta. Delta is similar in some ways to CELTA, but different in other ways. So a brief look at how Delta works and why people take it. So Delta is about deepening your knowledge of teaching English. So if you want to do that, Delta helps you to explore the principles of English teaching and to apply them with your learners in the classroom. So it's really about taking your knowledge further, taking your skills a lot further. If you want to extend your expertise into new areas, Delta can help you do that in a supported way, so with the support of a trainer. So that might be expertise in a particular age group or a particular type of context of teaching, like English for academic learning, for example, in higher education. Could be teaching business English, teaching one-to-one, all sorts of potential areas. And it can help you do that with support, with structure. And of course, Delta is often a requirement for moving into more senior roles. So if you want to become a teacher trainer, then Delta can help you to do that. It can help you if you want to move into academic management, materials development, lots of things that lead on from getting a Delta qualification. And again, this is a quote from you can see the video on our website. This is a quote from the Director General of the Anglo-Uruguayan Cultural Institute in Uruguay, saying that it was the most inspiring teaching qualification he's taken, and crucially, it's the one that's opened most doors. So he says it's really opened doors for him to progress in his career. So Delta, again, is accredited on the UK qualifications framework at level 7, which is equivalent to a master's course. It's recognised by employers worldwide, and it's one of the minimum requirements to become a CELTA trainer. So it can help you in that way as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, there are 3 modules of Delta. Again, you can take these in any order. You can take one, you can take all 3. It's up to you to decide which ones you need and how you want to take them. Module 1 is, again, more about the methodology, the background to language learning, so understanding how languages are learnt, the resources people use, and that's assessed through written examination. So there are 2 written examinations, 2 papers set in December and June each year. Module 2 is the one where you have to take a course. So for Module 1, you can prepare independently, you can take a course if you choose, but for Module 2, you have to take a course. So you must register with a Delta Centre to take Module 2. It's about developing professional practice, and it's based on, the assessment is based on your portfolio of coursework. So that's lesson plans, essays to support the lesson plans, and the actual teaching practice, so teaching the lesson and being observed by your trainer. Module 3 is an extended assignment, and again it's about taking, choosing a specific area of teaching and going into greater depth in that area, and it's assessed by a written assignment which is externally marked. So for Module 1 and 3 you can take them independently. Module 2 you must register for a course. Separate certificates for each of the modules, and there you see the passing grades. So you get a certificate for Module 1, Module 2 and Module 3. Once you've completed all 3, you can ask for an overarching Delta certificate, and that's when you've got the full qualification. Not everybody does all of them. You may not need all of them. You may feel that you only need to do Module 2 or Module 1. It's up to you. How can you take the modules? So for all of the modules, you can take an integrated course which prepares you for Module 1, 2 and 3 together, or you can register for a course for each individual module. For Module 1 and 3, as I say, you can prepare independently. For Module 2, you have to register for a course, and that course, similar to CELTA, can be face-to-face, online, or a combination of face-to-face and online. Okay, so that's a very quick, brief tour through the Cambridge Teaching Qualifications. I haven't been keeping up with all the questions in the chat box, I'm afraid, while I've been talking. So I hope that's helped you to understand the high-level overview of the qualifications. Were there any questions, Elena, that you picked up on?
Yeah, just unfortunately we don't have enough time to answer all of them. I try my best. I was really busy answering all the questions. Okay, just a couple of them probably you haven't mentioned. So the first one was regarding TKT young learners. What kind of materials can the teachers use to prepare better for TKT young learners?
Yeah. As I mentioned, there's going to be, in a couple of months' time, I think, there's a TKT Young Learners Preparation course coming out. I can't remember the exact date when that's available, but that will be coming very soon, which would be the ideal way. Before that comes out, there's a sample paper on the website. The materials for in the TKT Young Learners Handbook as well tells you everything that's going to be covered in the test.
Right, thanks a lot. And probably a couple of questions again regarding all, online options. So teachers are asking if any online preparation courses at the moment are available, or any online books they can use.
Certainly for TKT, there's the TKT course online, which is available at the moment, and there's also an e-book version of that, as well as the paper book. We don't provide an online course currently other than that. We don't do a kind of live course as a standard thing, but as Elena mentioned, you're doing some workshops in the region in early next year. For CELTA and Delta, yes, you can register through a Teaching Qualifications Centre to take the course online. So yes, definitely.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. So team, thank you very much for this excellent presentation, as always. Yes.
Not at all. Thank you to everyone for listening, and I hope you learn more through the rest of the conference and enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Right. Okay. I'm very happy to introduce you right now, Kate Redkina. She is our CELTA and DELTA qualified English teacher. And what is really interesting about Catherine or Kate is that she is a psychologist at the same time. So her primary interests are concerned with integrating psychology into English teaching and providing teachers some useful psychological instrument. I'm very exciting for our future talk, our session, where Kate will present a range of self-preparation strategies and some ideas to ensure that all the teachers are confident for TKT preparation. Over to you, Kate. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's good to see a lot of people today. Just let me know if you can see me fine and you can hear me. So if everything is all right with the sound. Yes, great. Thank you. Okay, so my session is going to be 45 minutes. Hopefully we'll have about 5 minutes for the questions. And as Yelena said, I'm a teacher trainer, and I'm also a psychologist, and I do have CELTA and DELTA certificates and TKT as well. So if you want to ask me for some sort of personal experience, I can also share that one. As for CELTA DELTA, that's not our focus today, because I'll be talking mostly about a teaching knowledge test, or TKT. I'll be continuing talking. Thank you, Tim, very much for the very detailed introduction. And so we'll have a small revision of what TKT is, how you understand what it is. Then we'll talk about how TKT is different from other tests and what it means for you, for your preparation. We'll quickly look at different ways of preparing, and, well, mostly we'll talk about self-preparation or self-study for TKT test, and we'll talk about general recommendations, what should be done at the exam, before the exam, and a few psychological tips. Well, hopefully we'll manage to do that, okay? So, right, let's start, and this is a small test I wanted to start with. So you had a very sort of detailed introduction, kind of detailed introduction to TKT. So question just one by one, if we could sum it up and make sure that we are on the same page. Yeah, so how many core modules are there? 3, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be opening one by one, okay? So 3 core modules, absolutely. Question number 2, how many additional modules? 3 plus 2, I see you're writing. Thank you very much. Yes, so additional modules, as you know, or you have just learned, that would be CLIL and Young Learners. Each module has how many papers? Question number 3. 5 papers, you think? This is interesting. Okay, we're still answering question number 3, so don't rush. So I can see where you are. 5 papers, you're thinking. Well, actually, each module has only 1 paper. So what does it mean, papers? Papers in, let's say, English exams, so Cambridge English exams, would be writing, speaking, listening. Here, you don't have this, right? So you're basically doing one big test, and so this is 1 paper. Yeah, thank you very much. Question number 4. Each paper lasts for, well done you, thank you, 80 minutes. 80 minutes, right? And each paper has 80, absolutely 80 questions. So it might look long enough, and some people say, well, I will not have enough time, but actually you have 80 questions altogether, but they're grouped, and it doesn't mean 80 tasks, it means 80 questions, right? So in one task, you might have 5 questions or so. So it means that you are not really in a rush. There is more than enough time, believe me. Right, question number 6. Each question is worth the same number of points, or it's weighted differently. 80 questions, I see that. Differently, you think. So 1 questions are more important than others. All questions get the same score? Yes, you're absolutely right. People who are writing same. So they are worth the same number of points. So all 80 questions give you 80 points. So each question gives you 1 point, okay? There is no difference there, okay? And how is TKT graded? You just heard this, I guess. I see people writing, yes, bands 4, 3, 2, 1. Absolutely. Right, so band 4 would be the highest. Well, band 1 would be the lowest, obviously. Okay, now let's look at the task types. Which of the following is not, be careful, is not one of the task types in the TKT? Odd one out. Some people are saying, let me wait for others. True or false? Multiple choice, matching, you say, true or false? Okay, so a lot of correct answers. Thank you for this. Actually, the correct answer is true or false. We don't have true or false questions in TKT test, which I personally think is a good idea. I do not like true or false questions, and many teachers agree with me. As for odd one out, some people said it's not there. It is there, and it's one of the trickiest, actually. We'll talk about it in a minute. So matching, multiple choice, sequencing, odd one out, all of them are on your test. True or false? No. Okay. Now, let's move on. Thank you very much. So that's it about testing your knowledge on TKT. Okay, so let's look at this one. How is TKT different from other teaching qualifications? Let's say CELTA or DELTA, or some English exams, because sometimes teachers think that if they have a language exam, it's enough, or like they somehow can substitute one another. This is not the case. TKT, first of all, it's a teaching qualification like CELTA DELTA, as you learned already today, and it's quite different from language exams as well. So this is a really different thing. I see. Let me see in the chat. I can't see the screen, just hear your voice. Well, it looks like, well, most people see me and see the screen, so it should be fine. Maybe you can refresh your page or something.
If we can have 5, 10.
Yeah, thank you. So as for TKT, I see some people are saying things. It's just very quickly, I can't follow, so I'll just open my slide. So TKT doesn't check your language level, okay? So no worries here. Some teachers worry that maybe their level is not enough or they need to brush it up before attending to the test. Well, that's not the case, okay? You don't need it. Then TKT has no writing, extensive writing, let's say an essay, description of graph or whatever. We don't have it. No speaking part as well. So you are not speaking to an examiner. In TKT, there is no teaching practice as in CELTA or in DELTA, as you've learned just now in the previous session. And there is a limited number of task types, right? As we said, we have matching, multiple choice, sequencing, and odd one out, which probably gives you a certain feeling of assurance, because you know what to expect, okay? You know what to expect from the test. Now, from all these tasks or task types, matching, multiple choice, sequencing, odd one out, which one causes most trouble? What do you think? Odd one out, I see people saying. Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but what do you think? Matching for someone, multiple choice. Sequencing can be tricky, I agree. Okay. Wow. I see all people see different difficulties, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it could be very subjective, but what is tricky about odd one out is that trainees often make mistakes, not because of the content, not because of they don't understand something, but because we do not read the instructions carefully. So what happens, we make mistakes just because we lose attention or do not pay enough attention. So all tasks can be equally difficult or easy for you, but with odd one out, please pay particular attention to the instruction. I'll mention it a bit later, okay? But with this one, we don't want to make simple mistakes because we just didn't read the instruction, right? So let's try to avoid this. I will give you some examples of TKT, and probably we have some time to quickly do the test, just to try. So this is how matching activities might look like. So you see the task on the top, you have functions on the right from A to G, and you have email questions from 20 to 25. So it's taken from module 1. Well, if you wish to try, I will give you a couple of minutes to do the test. Okay, I'll give you the answers. Okay, so this is how matching looks like. So you can try doing it if you want. You do not like functions, so I'm sorry, but they are on the test. You're not the only one. A lot of teachers often say they do not like functions. A lot of trainees say that, but well, as a psychologist, I can say that you don't have to like, all the topics, and there will be topics that you do not like particularly, but well, it's a test, so your job is just to show your best, right? Whether you like the area or not. I see answers already. Thank you very much. Okay. I'll just give you another minute and a half. Do as many as you can or want, okay? Then I'll give you the answers. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, let me open up the answers. We will not discuss them because that's not our focus today, but you can check yourself if you want. And I saw a lot of correct answers. Well done, you. So that would be D, G, E, F, A, B. And if you read the task carefully, you see there is one extra option, which you do not need. This is also important thing on TKT test. You often can see that there is one extra option, so pay attention to this, okay? Nice, thank you. One mistake, some people are saying. Well done you, great. Okay, this is an example of a multiple choice. Multiple choice is a probably most familiar task or very familiar to you. So you have a question and several options, usually 3, A, B, C, and you choose one, okay? There is always one answer. So if you think that 2 are correct, well, just check it again, read it again. There should be one answer. Okay, the same, we can quickly do it. 34, 35. I already see people writing. You're quick. That's great. So you see, this is not so difficult in terms of timing. There are many questions that you would do very quickly. And yes, you're absolutely right. So this is AA. So this is an example of multiple choice. Next one, I'm going to show you sequencing. Please do not do it. You don't need to do it because it's not full. You just won't be able to do it. So in sequencing, you have, let's say, as you see here, lesson plan where some stages are missing. And then you have a list of missing stages, and you need just to put them into the right places to make up a sequence. So this is a classical sequencing exercise. Okay, we're not doing it now, we're just looking at it. And finally, odd one out. The one, this is the one where trainees make a lot of mistakes because often we do not read instruction carefully. So as you see, we have a big word, not, which should stand out, okay? Now it's in color. I highlighted it for you. Of course, in the test, it's not going to be highlighted, so just be careful not to miss it, okay? Let's try to do this one so you can practice. Number 46, 47, please. What would be the answers? Please read the task. Okay, okay. And that would be A and C. A and C, okay? Nice, nice, thank you. Let's move on. So as for instruction mistake with odd one out, how to avoid this? This is kind of obvious, but I will mention it anyway. So always read the instructions before approaching the task, even if you think that the task is familiar, you've seen it a lot of times before, you know everything, you experienced teachers, obviously you are, but it still doesn't mean you don't need to read it, right? So just read it quickly and make sure you know what should be done. Besides that, it's a good idea to pay attention to the layout of the task as well as the content. So just looking at it, you know, even from some distance, you can see from the layout what task type it is. It works for sequencing, it works for matching, for multiple choice. The task itself looks in a very specific way, so you can quite quickly identify it. So you can use it also to understand what should be done. After you do the task, of course, it is recommended to check your answers. And you don't maybe need to do everything at the end. Some people like to check immediately after they write the answer. Some people prefer to do the whole test at the end. Well, it's up to you. You need to know what is better for you, right? So, but it's a good idea to check, of course. Now, as I promised, we'll talk about ways to prepare for TKT exam. Well, there are three most obvious and common versions of preparation or ways to prepare. So you can enroll on a course with a tutor, you can study yourself at home, or you can find a study buddy, which is very common practice these days. And of course, you can combine any of these. So what does preparation for TKT mean? Generally, right? So when you prepare for TKT, of course, you should understand what each module focuses on. So you need to understand what is inside, what are the sections, what are the parts, and how to approach them, right? Preparation means using official preparation materials, as was said in the previous session, right? And there were examples of materials, and this is very helpful. When I prepared for TKT, I also used official books, you know, this one's, this is the modules 1 to 3 book, this is the CLIL module, right? So this is official preparation books, and they're very, very useful. Some teachers find it useful to do some extensive reading on the topic, which means that some areas might be you know, there's gray zones. Maybe you are not very familiar with some areas. So as someone said, I don't like functional language. Well, because often we are not dealing with it very often. So what you can do, you can read some other methodology books for teachers, and this will give you a lot of, you know, confidence in TKT preparation and when you do the TKT test. Of course, mock tests, this is a good strategy. However, I wouldn't recommend doing just mock tests because that would be a very limiting thing, and you also need to do some reading, right? So just doing mock tests, I don't think this is a good strategy. And of course, a lot of focus should be attended to terminology. Terminology in TKT is, well, there are a lot of terms. However, all of them are in the TKT glossary. So you should not expect anything beyond that. And if you're not sure if you're familiar with the words or not, you can always check in the glossary. I'll say about glossary something else in the future. As for the structure of the modules, this is just an example. So if you decide to take module 1 test, well, of course, you should know that this is language and background to language learning and teaching. You should have a full understanding what it means. Then inside the module, you need to understand that there are 3 parts and that these module tests, for example, terms and concepts of English language teaching, some factors that underlie learning of English, tasks and activities for English language teaching. So there are 3 parts, and then in part 1, for example, so we try to narrow it down and understand the structure. In part 1, which is describing language and language skills, you would have grammar, lexis, phonology, functions, skills and sub-skills. And also you need to understand how many questions you have for each part, how many types of tasks, and so on and so forth. So this will give you a lot of confidence. Again, psychologically speaking, people are often afraid of tests and exams, and clearly understanding the structure can really give, like, can boost your confidence here. What else I wanted to say is what to remember if you prepare yourself. So let's talk about self-study now, right? So if you prepare on your own, and it can be challenging, right? So any self-preparation for whatever exam or test usually requires from the trainee certain things, strategies and skills. Well, first of all, you will have to manage your time, and you need to be prepared for this. So no one will push you, no one will come to, remind you about something. So usually time management is your responsibility, right? A lot of people find it challenging. Other people like it because they are in charge. In any way, you will have to deal with your timing yourself and set the deadlines. Second thing that you need to be prepared for if you prepare yourself, this is self-discipline. Again, it's not only how long you study and when you study, is how much depth you put into it. So how much, maybe how many materials you use, how many mock tests you do, and how attentive you are to certain details, and so on and so forth. So this is self-discipline, how you organize the whole process. Do you want to prepare within 1 month, or 1 week, or half a year, right? So is your timing realistic? Well, that's also about discipline, I think. Then you might probably need to remember about lack of motivation, possible lack of motivation. People who prepare themselves, please do not have these illusions that you will always stay motivated. Motivation, it's the thing that comes and goes. Again, I am saying this as a psychologist. So you will have ups and downs of motivation. And this is absolutely natural. We cannot stay motivated every time, all time, okay? So if you have this ups and downs, just accept it. And you can, again, through time management and self-discipline, reschedule your, study plan, and maybe do something more when you are motivated and active, do less when you are losing motivation, and of course try to find things that will encourage you. And of course there will be procrastination, And I think I don't need to say it, because we all know that in any thing we're doing, we procrastinate from time to time. And often procrastination is connected to loss of motivation. So when you are procrastinating, it might be that now you are not so much interested, or you are bored, or maybe you are tired. Again, don't punish yourself for it. Just acknowledge it. Say to yourself that, okay, today I'm just not doing it, but tomorrow I'll start again. I'll have a fresh start, right? So, what else? Any self-preparation means that you need to know your study skills and what study skills work for you best. For example, if you're doing mock tests, does it mean that you like, I'll give example about myself. When I was preparing, I decided that I will do, let's say, 10 mock tests, and I will do them within 5 weeks, which means that I need to do 2 tests a week, something like this. So that would be a tracker for me, a checklist, and I would be knowing that this keeps me motivated, it keeps me going, this is how I study. As for terminology, for me, simple cards worked just nicely. So that was mechanical memory. I used paper cards actually, but it was a long time ago. Now you are lucky to have all the digital resources, and you can have digital cards. Again, if cards work for you. If you need to discuss material with a friend, with a colleague, which is also a good learning strategy, please do that. So find out what is your study preference and do it, okay? What is important, you also need to find out when is the best time to study. If you are a morning person, but you every time put this TKT preparation till the last minute at night, well, probably that wouldn't be very effective, right? So find the part, like this part of the day where it will work most effectively for you, okay? Besides self-preparation will require self-reflection from you, understanding what works, what doesn't work, how far you are in, are you succeeding, so how much time you need, and so on and so forth, and self-support. So be nice to yourself, be good to yourself, as if you are nice and good to your students, pushing yourself off the limits, and struggling to fit into deadlines which are very strict has never helped anyone. Okay, so I would recommend to be nice to yourself. So what to do? A few recommendations. General recommendations when you prepare for TKT. As Tim said in the previous session, there is a variety of preparation materials, and honestly, they provide everything you need. So you might be using official books, which is this orange one you see on the slide. The second book shows a handbook. Handbook gives you all the necessary information about the exam, its structure, assessment, and so on. And it also gives you confidence in understanding what you're dealing with. Use lesson plans, which you can find at cambridgeenglish.org. So what is a lesson plan? Lesson plan is usually used for trainers, not trainees. However, there are a lot of interesting activities there that you can do for self-study as well. Yeah, normally they're used to at the TKT course, but I don't see why you can't use it for self-preparation. Work with the TKT glossary. This is the book you see on the slide. This is how glossary looks. It gives you all the necessary terms that you need to know for TKT test. Choose the most appropriate preparation strategy with a tutor, yourself, as we said, with another person. Do mock tests, obviously. And well, that's probably it. And now let's do a quick check of terms. There are 4 terms on the slide that come from this TKT glossary. So try to look at them and try to guess what they mean. And write them in the chat, please. I'll give you another minute. Number one, learner autonomy. I see this. I would say number one is connected with the learner autonomy, but it's not learner autonomy. Yeah, it is not. The first one is about me trying to understand if I'm good or not and how good I am or how bad I am. Yeah, reflection. Oh yes, finally, self-assessment. Well done. Self-reflection sounds good, but it's not a TKT term. But you're very close, yeah. Understanding, am I good, am I not? This is assessing myself. And if it's assessing myself, this is self-assessment. So number one would be self-assessment. I'll open the answers in a minute, okay? What about number two? So here we see that one sound influences another one. So when we say he grew up in Britain, I don't say in Britain. I actually say in Britain. Assimilation, well done. Yeah, assimilation. When one phoneme, one sound influences another one, and so as a result, one of them changes. This is assimilation, absolutely. Number three. Assimilation, yeah, good. Number three. Oh, people are quick, thank you. The first answer I saw, that was a chunk. Any pair or group of words commonly found together, that's a chunk. Well, you see, you already know the terms. And the last one. Here, the whole idea, the teacher does not provide the language, but through prompts or scaffolding or somehow tries to get this language out from the learners. Eliciting it is. Yes, thank you very much. So self-assessment, assimilation, chunk, eliciting, these are examples of terms coming from TKT glossary. A lot of people were correct. Well done you. So it means that they are not super new terms. You're probably already familiar with them, right? Okay, what else I wanted to say? If you use a glossary, can you think of some ways how you might work with it? Just reading a glossary might be boring, right? It's just a book, so I don't think you will be just sitting there and reading it. So what are the possible ways to use it? Again, I would be happy to see your ideas in the chat. Use in sentence, I guess you mean the term. Okay, could be understanding the meaning, making up sentences. Well, making up sentences, it's good for language use, but I'm not sure it helps you with the methodology terms. Using the pictures, doing tests, I would agree, giving examples in a context, reading about them in articles, so that's interesting, though might be time consuming. Use in writing, use tests, put in teaching. Oh, I love this one, yes. When you teach something, well, you teach your lessons, I would think about TKT terms and think, what exactly I'm doing now? So you've just learned the word eliciting or remembered the word eliciting. So when you teach, you might be thinking, I'm eliciting now, right? Or I'm scaffolding now, or I'm prompting now. What am I doing? Or now I'm teaching assimilation. Now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that. So putting it into teaching, I think that's a very clever idea. Memorizing. Giving a summary. Well, giving a summary of a term, it could be quite complicated, but, well, probably possible. Quizlet, yes, finally. Thank you. You can put it on cards and just the same way I did it, you just put it on cards and drill. Why not? Right. Thank you for your ideas. My ideas are here. First of all, refer and go to TKT glossary from time to time. When you teach, when you read some methodology books, some materials, TKT materials or some other ELT teaching materials, there will be terms, so you can go to the glossary and check those. Of course, read the book, and please remember that all the necessary terms here would be in bold, so they are somehow highlighted here, so you will definitely pay attention. Some people find it useful to write them out into a dictionary, also possible. And if you want to automatize, and if you want to make it more mechanical, use mechanical memory, then use paper cards or digital cards. Yes. Thank you. Now, as for psychological recommendations, as a psychologist, some things I already mentioned, but I will just here repeat them and sum up. Try to understand your learning style and most preferred study skills. So how you study better, when you study better, what is the easiest way for you to do it, right? If you have test anxiety, what will lower your test anxiety? Again, maybe you think that your biggest problem is terminology, then focus on terms. Maybe your biggest problem is like, you think you can't read all the materials in time. Well, then plan your reading schedule. Understand your strengths and weaknesses. This is very important because you need to know that, for example, module 1, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, good. Functional language, oh, that's a weak one. So I need to focus on it more. Analyze your mistakes. Every time you do mock tests, analyze what was wrong. Psychologically speaking, there is an interesting phenomena. People like to do things they are good at. So if you're good at grammar areas, you would be doing grammar again, because, well, I'm good at it. You like to see good results. You need to do the opposite. Find your weaknesses and try to focus on those, right? Not just things you're already good at. What else? Keep yourself motivated. Remember, I mentioned motivation might be lost at some point. So find areas or topics that you like. Because, well, there will be something you like in the test. For me, it's very helpful to share my knowledge with other teachers and discuss something I've read, something I've learned. Vary materials and activities. So if you're doing mock test today, do the reading tomorrow. If you are reading a handbook, then do the glossary. Change it. Take breaks. You can't study all the time. This is how you lose motivation, actually. And apply what you've learned to your teaching. Come to the classroom and use what you've learned. Imagine you did a module on lesson planning. Well, use it when you plan a lesson. You did a module or a certain part of the module on board work or interaction patterns in the classroom. Use it when you teach and see how it works. It's much easier for you than to answer the questions. And of course, plan your time through the calendar, through some due dates which you put for yourself, and develop some study habits, maybe checklists, maybe trackers. For me, it is very helpful when you can put a tick and say to yourself that, well done me, I've done these things today. A few examples, just, to give examples. Yelena, how much time more? Do I still have 5 minutes?
Minutes, that would be perfect.
Great. Yeah, I just need about 5 and then a few minutes to answer the questions if there are any. So some people say, I can't find time for this, for preparation. And there are other things to do. There are always other things to do. Let me know if this happened to you at some point. Maybe there are other job tasks. Maybe there are things you need to do at home, papers to check. I mean, we are busy people, right? There is always something better to do. It happened. Yes, I see that. Good. So what are the recommendations? Of course, they're very individual, but first notice that this is happening to you. And what helps me if it happens to me? I create study routines and habits. I have my desk. I have my water or my tea or my coffee, something that I always have near me. And for example, I usually study early in the morning. This is my time. So my brain is hardwired to remember that when I have all this, I'm preparing for the TKT test. So just condition yourself to remember this. This is point number one. Point number two, find a study buddy. Find a person who you can have Zoom calls or some other interaction with, and you would push them and they would push you in a good way, of course. And another thing that I do for myself and use, this is closed lists. So we often write this list. I would do this, 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 this. Closed lists, it means that you plan only those things that you can do and actually will do. So if you know that you need to do 10 things, but this is impossible because you will do only 5, plan 5. Because the sense of achievement will be much stronger rather than, oh, I did only 5 out of 10. So you will not be happy with yourself. Whereas you planned 5 and you did 5, you'll be much more, much happier. Right, so this is called closed lists. Let me know if you have this. Oh, I have plenty of time. The exam is only, I don't know, in 3 months, in half a year, in 2 weeks. So we assume that there is a lot of time left. And your brain, again, tells you that you can do anything you want, but not this. I see people are showing this. Apparently, this is true. So as for recommendations, set personal due dates, just in the calendar. On Monday, I need to do this. On Wednesday, I need to do that. Even if you don't want, just do a small thing out of your list, and then maybe you will still be going on. And particular tasks can be allocated to particular dates. So on Wednesday, I will do mock test number 2, and I will do, I don't know, half of it, only 40 questions or only 10 questions. Make it manageable. Don't set unmanageable tasks because, again, you will not be able to do it. You'll get disappointed and you will lose motivation. And we need just the opposite, right? Finally, what to remember when you are at the test itself, at the exam. Read the instruction carefully. I said it a lot of times today. I will repeat. When you perform the task, this is number 2, pay attention to the terminology and the wording. Try not to overthink or interpret, because a lot of teachers start thinking, well, if this, if that, it depends on this, it depends on that. No, it doesn't. It's a test. As all tests are usually done, this should be obvious answer. Don't try to overthink, please. Then you are allowed to make notes on the paper if it helps you. And these notes are not going to be marked. For me, it's very useful when I make notes and it helps to structure my thoughts. Besides that, number 4, plan time wisely, of course. I usually start with the questions I'm sure about and I do them quickly. And then I clearly understand how many questions left and they're difficult and how much time left I have. It doesn't work for everyone, so try this strategy at home. If it works for you, apply it at the exam, okay? Watch the time. Just use the, let's say, hand watch or something else so you can track the time, not get lost. Allocate some time to check your answers at the end. That would be very advisable. And be careful when you complete the answer sheet with a pencil. First of all, it should be a pencil. It's the requirement, and then it should be very careful. Otherwise, if you make a mistake there, the computer will not be able to read it, right? So be careful here. Well, and this is all with me. Thank you very much. If there are questions, I think we have a few minutes to answer those.
Okay, unfortunately, except for hundreds of compliments and kind words, I can't see any questions. because I think you covered everything. I mean, in terms of self-preparation, and they were just amazing pieces of advice. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot. That was really great. I noted a couple of them for myself. Thanks a lot.
Good.
That was great. I am repeating again and again, so the presentation will be sent to you in a couple of weeks or in a week or something. Okay. So yeah, so I think Kate will be enjoying lots of compliments right now in the chat box. And
Thank you.
I am ready to introduce our next speaker. So are you ready to start your CELTA journey and invest in your teaching career right now? Okay, Claire, can we have you right now? Can you see us okay?
Hello.
Hello, Claire. That's a great pleasure to see you again. Let me introduce you first. This is our Cambridge presenter, and what is more important right now, a CELTA trainer. So I think that every year, Claire faces many concerns, questions, and sometimes even myths about CELTA. Let's ask her right now about some insights about the CELTA course. Okay, so Claire, you're welcome.
Thank you, Elna. Thank you for that interesting introduction. And hello to everybody. Now, I'm kind of hoping that you're going to chat with me through the chat box, and I am going to keep half an eye on that chat box, so please feel free to ask your questions as we go. Okay, good evening, Okay, I'm in Germany, I should say that. And it's afternoon, it's about 23 minutes past 2, and it has stopped raining, so there's a thing. Yeah, the way people spend their evenings is always interesting. So let me just remind myself how I move these slides on. There it was. Okay, so we're going to be talking basically about these things. Okay, you need to know a couple of things about me. For those of you who've not experienced any webinar presentation that I've ever done before, you are to be congratulated. However, in general, I don't read my slides because you can, very simply. And also I expect a lot of interaction from you people through the chat box. Okay, so it's not just going to be a sit back and listen and fall asleep event. Okay, yeah, I know, way out east, I know it's already evening. Okay, so let's move straight into this because we don't have a great deal of time, do we? Okay, now Tim did give you a lot of information about the CELTA, among other things, okay? And let's think first of all, I'm a CELTA trainer, as Elena said. I've been training now for 6 years, something like that. And I run on average, at the moment, I'm doing quite a lot of work with the French Center, which is great fun. I'm between CELTAs. I just came off one CELTA and I'm going to start an online CELTA next week. And yeah, I did Delta principally so that I could become, well, no, that's not true. I did Delta because I felt there was more that I couldn't get at that time in Germany. So I went and I did Delta. And here you can see, this is a happy group of trainees. Do you think they're at the beginning or the end of their CELTA? Do you think they're at the beginning or the end of their CELTA? You think they're at the beginning? Okay, right, yeah. They look quite happy, don't they? If you can count quick, you'll notice that there are 12 people, and in most CELTA courses, there will be a group of 12 trainees or candidates, as we sometimes call them. Okay, but of course, it's not all fun and games, and a lot of CELTA candidates or trainees, they all look so happy. Anya. Quite, absolutely. They learned the wisdom of their ways, and there was a lot of stressing out came into it. So the question is, why? Why am I going to do this to myself? Any ideas in the chat box? Why would you do this to yourselves? Why would you take CELTA? Okay, absolutely. Thank you there. It's it's challenging, but maybe that's exactly what you need to do. I think as teachers, we all need to sit back from time to time and to think about, okay, now am I developing here? Am I being challenged, and so on and so forth? Yeah, and if I want to improve my skills or develop my skills, or possibly even just learn new techniques, then that is precisely why I'm doing it. Okay. Because, you know, we all have these moments where you think you've planned an absolutely fantastic lesson, simply fabulous, pretty pictures, something that was really interesting, blah, 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 and your students sit there and look at you as if you have just landed. Has anyone experienced that kind of a lesson? I know I certainly have many times, and that's why I think it's important that as teachers we keep trying to move on. Oh, someone's very honest, saying they want to do CELTA to get more salary. Well, no, that's very honest and a very good point, because as Tim did say earlier, CELTA is becoming increasingly a requirement around the globe, and indeed, quite a lot of my French trainees, or I should say people who train in France, are doing it because they've been teaching for a while, but now their school is saying, you don't have CELTA, go away and get CELTA and then come back. Okay, so it's an increasing awareness that CELTA is a good way to start or to improve, to develop a teaching career. Okay, right. As Elena mentioned, there are some myths about CELTA, and she particularly wanted me to raise these myths and to try and dispel them. I think I want to move straight on. Okay, so yeah, somewhere in the handbook it does say it doesn't matter where you do your course because it is a standardized course, and Cambridge makes sure that it is standardized. Is that true? Do you believe that? Yes or no? True or false? What do you think? Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. True, yes. Ooh. I like you people. Because apparently people, there are people who sometimes say, yeah, oh yes, but every center has its own training methods. Basically, the centers have to run CELTA in a specific way. They have to have the same CELTA trainers as everybody else, and CELTA trainers are trained to do things in a specific way. Obviously, there's always room for a little bit of personal stage management, but in general, we're all doing the same thing, which you may think sounds boring, but it's not. It's not. How do you feel about the green speaking bubble? I don't think that that's a particularly serious CELTA trainer, if that is the case. Yeah, all trainers obviously are going to give equal time and attention to all of their trainees. Sometimes it seems that you have a trainee who's, I wouldn't say needy, and who asks more questions, and it appears the trainer is spending more time with them, but in reality that is very, very rarely the case. I'm glad somebody's saying they don't agree with both of these speech bubbles. I'm very, very happy to hear you say that. There are others who say, oh yes, don't go to that trainer, don't go to that center because that trainer is really not good, or whatever, and so on and so forth. Yeah, can we really say that? I don't think so. Because Cambridge, again, has standards for training of CELTA trainers. Everybody has to fulfill these initial requirements and also to be trained in the same way. Most CELTA trainers are also assessed during their training by an external assessor. And also CELTA trainers have to do standardization every year to retain their trainer status. So they have to watch lessons, and they have to read assignments, and they have to do this and that, the rest of it, to make sure that they hit Cambridge's standards, in much the same way as your Cambridge examiner has to do certification every year in order to make sure they're still examining in the same way. Okay. What do we think about the yellow bubble? I'll give you some time to read it. Yeah. And I'll give you some of the background behind that. Obviously, if you're doing a face-to-face course in your own country, then the teaching practice students are likely to be monolingual. So you have a monolingual group of people from your country. However, if you go to an international center, then you're more likely to have a multicultural group of teaching practice students. Also, if you do the course online, which is, as Tim mentioned, a very useful option these days. Online teaching practice students can come from anywhere in the world. That's the big attraction of using an online environment, which means that you're facing multilingual groups. And there are pros and cons. Yeah? If you plan to stay in your home city and to teach the same people, the people from your culture forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, then maybe doing CELTA face-to-face in that same city is an option. If you would like to get out, if you would like to see how it is to work with multicultural students, or if you live in a context where there are several languages being spoken, then perhaps that kind of course is more useful for you. Yeah. Different approaches. You need to adapt to any situations. Absolutely. What about this one? I hear this quite a lot, that teachers, school teachers and university teachers, in higher education say, oh, I don't need this. I know everything there is to know about teaching. And I hear it particularly among school teachers in different countries. As I say, I live here in Germany, and trying to get these people to do any kind of further development is like trying to move the mountain. It just doesn't happen. But yeah, obviously it's not right. Yes. Everybody needs some kind of professional development. Everybody, indeed, Sevara, everybody needs to see how far they can go, to test what they know, and to think how much they can progress. Okay, and I'm going to look at this. Yeah. Okay, so this is a standard grammar presentation from a course book, a Cambridge course book, which aims clearly to clarify the past continuous and contrast it with the past simple. Now, if we look at that, how many of us, and be honest with yourselves here in the chat box, how many of you people think that the information that is given, that you can see on your screen right now, is everything that your students need to know? Do you think that if your students read this, they will understand and immediately be able to use it? Okay. I like the way you're all saying no. And yet, many of us do just that. It's like, here, page whatever, let's do this and this, and this is what it is, this is what it means, blah, 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 blah. Now do this exercise. And of course, that's not really very practical. Dilara, I'm sorry if you cannot see the presentation. I suggest you refresh your browser. Okay. But usually we have to think about, well, how am I going to clarify this? Give me some ideas. How are you going to clarify this? If you're going to say the course book is not enough, the course book is never enough. Let's be honest about this. By other skills. That sounds very interesting. What ideas? Ooh, concept checking questions. Yay. Absolutely. Examples? Yes. But you have examples on your screen. So only examples is perhaps not enough. I mean, yes, we would like our learners to be more independent. We would like our learners to be able to read a page of this and be able to go, yeah, that's easy, blah, and do it. But we know that's not going to happen. So maybe examples together with some questions. Okay. Yeah, examples to be used on a daily basis. Interesting. Storytelling. Okay. Well, storytelling, we can use storytelling certainly very effectively to elicit the target language, but we still need to clarify it, don't we? And so I have for you, what's this? What can you see now on your screen? What do we call this? Thank you there. Somebody's very quick. It is a timeline. You people have good Wi-Fi. That's wonderful. I hope you appreciate it. I live in a country where it is not a given. However, timelines. Timelines, yeah. Okay, so if you can see there's a very wonky squiggly line. Okay, so Gary was building, Paula was working. Let's try this timeline in connection with a few questions. So Gary was building, Paula was working. Is this happening now or was it in the past? Okay, yeah, in the past, absolutely. Gary was building, Paula was working. Was this, shall we say, happening at the same time? So Gary was building, Paula was working. Yes, Gary was building, Paula was working. Okay. So am I talking about one single action? Or am I talking about something that went on for quite a long time? Okay, exactly. But now it's finished, yes? At the moment, Gary is not building, Paula is not working, correct? There are two actions, yes, but there are two actions happening at the same, exactly. Well done. Okay, wonderful. Moving on. So we're looking at sentence B there. Yeah. I wasn't eliciting as much as checking, but yes, you're absolutely right. The combination of this is what it is, this is what it might look like, and this is some questions that you need to think about. Okay. So you can see there a red squiggly line and a purple point. Yes. Why do we think the purple point is a point and not a red squiggly line? Dinara says it's a fact. Interrupting. Okay, right. So the squiggly line, they were looking on the internet. When did they start looking on the internet? Did they start looking on the internet before Gary's dad went, oh, idea? Yeah. So yeah, people are telling me it's an action in progress and so on. It is an action in progress, okay? What started first? Looking or having an idea? What started first? Looking, exactly, okay. And then his dad had this idea, which is great. So yes, it's maybe interrupting, maybe not. Why is the red squiggly line after the idea dotted? Why is the red squiggly line dotted? Do we think? What does it mean? Well, yeah, so do we know that Gary's dad's idea stopped the looking? Do we know that? We don't know that. Is it possible? It is possible that they continued looking, we don't know. But we have to indicate that on our timelines. Okay. So now, people, finally, Gary finished the work on the lorry and they moved in. What do we think? Gary finished the work, they moved in. Is this going to be Gary finished the work? Is this going to be a red squiggly line? Or is it going to be a purple dot? Whoa, we're all over the place there. It's going to be a purple dot. Yes, absolutely. Well done. They moved in. Is that going to be a red squiggly line or a dot? I'm not sure how much of the purple dots are for the first sentence and how many for the second sentence. But yes, they're both going to be purple dots in my case. Naturally, you can choose your own color scheme. Now, these purple dots, are they going, you can see where it says now on your screen, are they going to be on the left-hand side, as you can see on your screen, or the right-hand side, these purple dots? They're going to be on the left or the right of now on your screen. Okay, I can see some fascinating names, by the way. No idea how these names are produced, but well, it's lovely. But yes, on the left, exactly. Well done. Are they going to be in the same place or are they going to be dot, dot? Are they going to be one place or dot, dot? Okay, right. The same place. Wow. So he finished the work on the lorry and they moved in at exactly the same time. Really? I don't think so. I'm going to go with everybody else who's saying dot, dot, exactly. So he finished the work, dot. They moved in, dot. Now, which dot is further left? Which dot is further left? Exactly. Thank you, Marina. Yeah, got there first. Give yourself a biscuit. Yeah. First. So this dot is going to be before the second dot, but they're both going to be left of now. Okay, lovely. So, whoops, I keep hitting the wrong key there. So basically, my point is that CELTA is there for all of us. Yeah, not just for the new and totally inexperienced, but also for the less new, experienced teachers, also for teachers who've gone through pedagogical training at local universities and so on and so forth. Yeah, there's always something new, always something that we've not thought about, or something that maybe we had heard of way back in the past, but we completely forgotten about. And CELTA, I think, is a very useful way of taking time out from what we do and what we might have been doing for quite some time to think about why we're doing it and how we're doing it. And maybe we can think about different ways of doing it, better ways of doing it. Well, maybe not better, but different. Olga, CELTA, my love. Wow, glutton for punishment. Yeah, some might say. Okay. All right. We can also think about new aspects of teaching. It could be teaching online. If you want to do an online course of CELTA, it could be how to develop, for example, and this is the thing that I know a lot of people struggle with, how to develop the receptive skills more effectively. Or is it just, oh, here's a reading, fine, read it, here's the answers. What do you mean you can't do it? Are you stupid? No. Okay, but have you developed anybody's reading skills? Not really. So let's think about maybe it's possible to learn how to do this more effectively. Yeah. Okay. And of course, the great thing about CELTA, which is not part of TKT, and in my personal experience, very rarely part of a lot of teacher training courses at universities, is this: it's an opportunity to get feedback on our teaching, and not just, well, that was awful, because that's not very constructive, and it's certainly not very pleasant to hear. Yeah? This whole CELTA thing, yes, it is stressful, but on the other hand, it's finally somebody who's watching your lesson. It's quite a lot of people actually watching your lesson, because there are 6 trainees, 1 is teaching, 5 are watching, and the trainer is watching as well, and everybody is encouraged to think about what you're doing, to comment on what you're doing, and to highlight the positives, yay, and to maybe think about, well, you know, that didn't work so well, I might have done this, perhaps you could try that. Yeah? So the idea is thinking about why some things didn't go quite so well, and having the opportunity or thinking about how it might go better next time. But, you know, also, if you're in self-doubt and you're thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, is there any point to me teaching? Well, yes, you can get that from CELTA as well, this positive confirmation. This is another of these things. People believe with, is it true or false? With CELTA, I can work everywhere or anywhere. Is that true? Well, it certainly helps you to be more mobile, because one of the things that a lot of people don't really understand is if you move from one country to another country, that new country may very well not accept your pedagogical qualification or your university qualification. Yeah. I remember many years ago when there were lots of people moving from Central Asia, so Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, whatever, into Germany, and this was in the 90s. Some of them came very highly qualified as teachers. The Germans did not recognize their university qualification. But if you work in, generally, if you have a CELTA, you'll find there are more doors open to you in different contexts. Yeah. I'm not going to read that because you can. Yeah, I know. Wow, somebody's typed, wow. Yes, I quite agree. Wow, it is, yeah, very much so. Those of you who read the forums may well have read a version of this statement. And I thought, well, this is actually an interesting statement. So I actually talked to my trainees from last week. As I said earlier, I've just done the first 2 weeks of a 4-week course in France. And so I messaged my trainees, and I said, guys, can you tell me in very few words how you felt at the beginning? After 2 days, a lot of them were going, oh. Yeah. Okay, I liked the avalanche. Yeah, and quite a few of them said, oh, it's just like standing on a mountain, the avalanche hits you there, knocks you out. Okay, I liked the strangely calm but curious. That was very interesting. Yeah, and the last one, as you may well guess, comes from a woman who had been teaching for some time, trying to unlearn things, which is an interesting statement, because a lot of teachers, we say, get into bad habits, and they become quite teacher-centered. And this particular woman, certainly, she found it very, very difficult to stop talking, to let her students talk. She found it very, very difficult to plan pair work so that all of the students got a chance to speak rather than just one talking to her from time to time. Very difficult. It is quite a steep learning curve. So this was pack your suitcase and leave in 3 weeks. That's what you were thinking of after 2 days. Oh my. Okay. After a week, these are the same people. Yeah. And yeah. I was slightly distressed to hear that one of them had apparently spent the weekend crying, but she did have a confidence crisis, but she picked herself up and went on. I like that my brain hurts. This is after a week of it. After a week of it, yeah. And somebody else is going, excited, I'm excited, I am stressed out, I'm completely overworked, completely, but still excited about all the new things that I'm learning. And after 2 weeks, look at what they're saying. Yeah. Marina, the last day was the day we wanted more. Yeah. I think also because on the last day, generally, the assessment part of it has finished, it's over. And then you can sit back and think, well, actually, no, I this is fun, this was good, this was hard work, but let's have some more, please. Okay. So this is what my students or my trainees were now saying. Okay. Okay. A lot of people say, well, you know, this is very expensive. And it is true, it's not cheap. And it does mean if you do the intensive course that you have to take time off work and off your family, because seriously, you're not going to have time, for 4 or sometimes 5 weeks. Some centers do a 5-week course. And you're not earning money in that time, of course. So that's rather problematic. But we have to consider certain things. So for example, yeah, if you think about the way it works, you have 12 trainees and 2 trainers. Those trainers have to be paid for working essentially only with 6 people. So that's going to have some effect on the price of it. Okay, not all of the centers actually have their own local trainee tutors, and so the centers need to encourage tutors to come to their center by offering to pay for travel, and clearly these people need somewhere to live as long as they're running your CELTA in wherever it happens to be. Okay. That's not true of online courses, of course, because your online tutor can be anywhere in the world. But interestingly, Cambridge has now decided, and I have absolutely no shame in mentioning this, that the fee that centers have to pay for each and every one of their trainees or their candidates is actually going to become a little bit more for the online trainees. Don't know why that is. However, you've got to remember that centers provide facilities, particularly the face-to-face centers. They've got to find all of this kind of stuff, and practice students are not generally paying fees, and certainly not full course student fees. So if you're at a private language school, then the school will have a standard price for the students, but for the CELTA, they'll be paying much less, or they're not paying anything at all. Okay, right, so they're not earning from those students. That's the point that we're making there. Okay, right. I think I have now ground to a halt. I am going to stop talking and answer questions. And there's a question in there from Alexandra. Can we get pass A, B, pass grade if we learn CELTA online? Certainly. All 3 pass grades are equally equivalent to online. Cambridge has said you can do everything face-to-face, or you can do everything online, or 50-50. The course is the same. If you're doing the face-to-face course, tutors have been told to refer to how different it would be online. If you're doing the online course, trainers have been told to remind everybody how it would be different face-to-face. It's the same course, the same happy smiling things. Okay, I can see lots of people say, how many hours is the CELTA course? Well, that's yeah, there we go. And as Tim said, it's 120 contact hours. So that contact hours, we mean input sessions, we mean lesson planning, we mean teaching practice and observation, and we mean feedback. Okay, so 120 hours in total, plus 80 hours minimum, I would say, of work in your own time. So that's work in writing your lesson plan, preparing your materials, and work doing some research and actually writing your assignment. So we're looking at 200 hours. Delta is a lot more. Delta, in fairness, is very challenging. Efficiency rate. That's a very good question. I don't know. By efficiency, I think you possibly mean effectiveness. How effective are the CELTA trained teachers in the classroom? And clearly, as trainers, as a trainer, I would like to think that my CELTA trained, CELTA qualified trainees are way more effective in the classroom than people who've not done that. But it's very difficult to quantify and to qualify. How can we conduct the lesson online for observation? Well, Alexandra, that's another very good question. And that's part of the whole thing. So you have activities that you do in a specific way, face-to-face. And if you want to do it online, then you have to rethink, how am I going to do it online? Yeah. And typically, I'm finding that a lot of my trainees now are only effective online. And now they're coming into the classroom and they're going, but Claire, how can I do this if I don't have access to blah, blah, blah? And I'm going, well, think about it. Yeah, so it's a good idea to do one or the other, but to think about everything else. Which is better? You have such a fascinating name there. I have no idea how to say it, so I'm not even going to try. Which CELTA is better, online or face-to-face? They're both exactly the same course. If it's run intensively over 4 weeks or 5 weeks, you should not aim to do anything else other than CELTA. It's exactly the same course, very intensive. Okay. Teacher's level should be, what do you mean by that, Oksana? In order to study CELTA, teacher's level of what? Level of teaching, level of English? Somebody's saying, yeah, it is basically a good C1, simply because there is so much coming at you. The whole course will run in English. There's a lot of stuff that you have to listen to assimilate, to read, to be able to process really, really quickly. And that makes it very, very difficult for anybody who's not a very strong C1 candidate, C1, C2. I don't know where you can do CELTA in Uzbekistan. I'm very sorry. That's a question for Elena. Is it equivalent to TESOL? If you mean TESOL Trinity, Trinity TESOL, the course, yes, it's very similar. They're very similar courses. I don't know anything about prices. I'm sorry, but Eleanor knows all about these things, I am confident.
Okay, thanks. So I'll be sending all the contact details in each of the country, in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, where you can take your CELTA or Delta course or TKT course. So everything will be in your email, right?
Can I just interrupt briefly there? Alexandra has just said, do you need to pass any pre-exams? No, you don't. But you have an application form, you will have a pre-interview task, and you will have an interview so that the center can decide, and these things are usually run by the tutors, they can decide whether you are ready to do CELTA. But it's not a test, no. You're welcome, Alexandra. Oh, thank you. One of the best experiences I've ever had. Oh, thank you. That's lovely. There you go. I think it's over to you now, Eleanor.
Okay, so we'll definitely send all the details because now everything will disappear in our chat, unfortunately. Yeah, so we'll provide with the information. So you actually may enter our website and find a center there. This is cambridgeenglish.org to find the center in your area, but I'll be sending all the contact details shortly. Okay, let's say goodbye, unfortunately, for now, and we'll meet you tomorrow, Claire, with C1 Advanced. Yes? Okay, see you tomorrow. Perfect. Bye. Bye. Right, okay, and we are moving to the top of our journey, and we'll talk about DELTA, which is a higher English language teaching qualification for teachers. Who can better present DELTA than Anna Kasheva, our CELTA and DELTA trainer? Anna, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly all right. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. This is, yeah, hello, hello. Nice to see you. Where are you?
Well, I'm in Moscow in my flat.
Perfect.
Because I'm always located here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very nice seeing Claire and some other speakers. Yeah, it's been a fantastic event. So thank you very much for inviting me. Right. Let me say a couple of words. Elena just started talking about, yeah, hello. Yeah, I can see some familiar names there. Yeah, Elena started introducing me. So yes, I am a CELTA and DELTA trainer. And yeah, I used to work with Claire, working for the same teacher training center, running CELTA courses at a certain point. So that was lovely. That was always awesome. Yeah. We actually delivered a course together in spring, didn't we? Anyway, so let's kick off. To start this webinar, I've decided to show you this extract. So let's have a look. Does it ring a bell? So you might see the source of this, yeah, at the bottom of the box. So, however, where do you think this box come from? What ideas have you got? Where does it come from? Okay, from a book, absolutely, student book. That's a very nice guess. Well done, well done. Yeah, it's actually awesome that we have so active participants. Keep doing that. Well done. Yes, yeah, go on. All right, awesome. From a magazine. Well, we are going to talk about professional development here in this webinar. So it comes from a book on professional development for teachers. It's called actually The Developing Teacher, right? And it appears at the very beginning, again, as a kind of metaphor. And I'm a great fan of metaphors. I love them. So this is one of them. Yeah. What's behind that? Why am I showing you this extract? Why did the author, Duncan Ford, included that in his book at the very beginning? Yeah, Duncan Ford. Yeah. Adventures. Okay, so professional development is a kind of adventure. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Okay. To think critically, oh nice, yes. We'll be talking about evaluation, reflection, critical thinking, yeah. Yeah. Delta is a great adventure, sure, yeah. Yeah. Good, exactly. Without a purpose, what can we achieve? If you don't know what you want, how can you achieve that, right? Exactly. So it's about setting goals. It's about identifying your objectives, identifying where you are at this stage of professional development, right? And then deciding how you can move on. And as Claire mentioned, and some previous speakers, they also talked about the ongoing continuous professional development. And as far as I understood, Tim must have shown you Cambridge English teaching framework, yeah, with some hints on the criteria you can keep in mind and different stages of professional development. So, with that in mind, let's see what might be the basic level of expertise for teachers, yeah, and what might be more Delta-like level, yeah. So let's continue using the chat box. Type in a plus if you work with young learners, okay? So, or you can put YL if you want. So if you teach kids, school children, yeah, teenagers, yes, young learners, awesome. Now, those of you who work with adult learners, do the same thing, adults, yeah? Or pluses about adults, yeah, exactly. Good, okay. Yeah, of course, there are some categories in between, yeah, like juniors, for example, or we can talk about very young learners, yeah, or elderly people, yeah, that's another level of challenge, yeah, perhaps. Okay, so age groups, different age groups, and I can see you are quite experienced in a variety of areas. Great. Now, those of you who work with general English, could you type in GE, yeah, general English, so you help your students to upgrade their level. Yeah, and perhaps you're using something like English File, Cutting Edge, yeah, Natural English, I don't know. There are plenty of books. They are just on general English. Yeah, so we have a lot of people. Now, university students, yeah, they might be actually doing a course of study in general English, yeah, or they might be working on academic English, absolutely, yeah, good. Perhaps you're preparing for an external examination, maybe CAE, maybe, I don't know, FIRST, yeah, or some other exams. Yeah, so exams, could you type in IELTS? Very good, yeah. Advanced, C1, good. Okay, so different types of exams, fantastic. Maybe you also teach some students who work for a company and they're interested in developing their language skills, yeah, in the business area. So you have to give lessons in business English, yeah. So if you work with business English classes, again, BE, could you type it, please? Yeah, so we have some. All right, you see, so you are quite experienced. Now, the wider the range of the teaching contexts you work with, the range of classes, the types of classes, different types of courses that you had to deliver. Maybe there were some intensive courses, like, you know, those who you have to give every day, yeah, or super intensive, and they might be just regular, twice a week type of classes. Yeah, there might be one-to-one classes or group classes, and so on and so forth. So the wider the range, the better you're prepared for this level, yeah, Delta level, because in all the models, you have to rely on your experience. Yeah, and you'll be given some examples. And of course, it's easy if you have that experience. So let's compare all three qualifications that you can see on the slide. Yeah, you had a presentation of all of them. And you know what CELTA and TKT are like. Now, how Delta is similar and different at the same time, yeah? Well, first of all, in terms of the level, yeah, it's for more experienced teachers. That's the first thing. Secondly, there are some similarities. So if you look at Delta Model 1, it's also a test. So you may think it's similar to TKT. Well, yes and no. So the areas that you'll be assessed are nearly the same. You need to demonstrate some understanding of methodologies, techniques, different approaches, theories, and so on. And in terms of how you do it, how you respond to their questions, yeah, it's a different kettle of fish. Yeah, it's completely different. So in TKT, you're just shading the lozenges, you are ticking the boxes like multiple choice, A, B, or C, probably B, yeah, you can even guess. And in Delta, yeah, you'll have to write, you'll have to produce something, you'll have to come up with ideas. It'll be your creative work, if you want, right? Not so creative at the very beginning of the test, but more creative towards the end, yeah, your ideas. Now, if we compare Delta Model 2 to to CELTA, again, there are some similarities. If you look at the timetable, they look similar. Input sessions, observations, some kind of tutorials, meetings with trainers, lesson discussions, feedback on lessons themselves you'll have to deliver, plan them first and then deliver them and reflect on that experience. It's always there, right? It's a little bit more dense, well, a lot more dense, to be honest. So as Claire has just said, it's quite a challenging experience. Well, yes, it is. And it's longer. So if CELTA takes 120 official contact hours, then in Delta, I think there are something like 200 hours. So for example, if CELTA can be a 4-week intensive course, then Delta will be an 8 or 9-week intensive course, right? Something like that. But surprisingly, you will have to deliver only 4 lessons. Anyway, so Delta looks similar to some extent to other qualifications, but at the same time, it's a different level. So first of all, let's have a look at the acronym. Delta is an acronym, isn't it? So what might D stand for? Your guesses? Okay. Yeah, it is a diploma. Yeah, okay. It is a diploma for sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other guesses about other letters? E, L, T, A, anything? What might they stand for? English. Okay. Achieve your experiences. I love it. Okay, nice. Yeah, diploma. I don't know. Fair enough. Well, actually, it used to be an acronym, but it's no longer like that. So in the past, you could say that Delta stands for Diploma in English Language Teaching to Adults, but now it's the kind of myth, because you won't be dealing only with adult learners. Well, that's not the requirement. You can still work with young learners. For example, my Delta Model 3 specialism was on juniors, on young learners. And basically it's about everything. Teaching any context, working with any context. Just because of other languages. Exactly, yeah, absolutely. So, who is Delta for? Well, first of all, I would say it's for enthusiasts, those who are keen to learn, those who are keen to broaden their horizons, those who want to widen their experiencing and start working with a new teaching context perhaps, or just demonstrate that they're ready, for that. Or maybe those who want to upgrade their level of teaching and expertise somehow, pushing yourselves out of the comfort zone. There are no requirements, like official requirements. There are just recommendations for Delta Model 1, but for Delta Model 2, of course, the requirements are more rigid, because the centers want to hire candidates who are ready for that and who can pass the course, which is quite a challenging experience, as I said. So for that, you will have to demonstrate that your level of English is good enough, like C1, C2. It's the same for CELTA. Well, the higher the better, obviously. It'll be easier for you. You'll be thinking on your feet a lot. And in terms of experience, of course, that's important. So what I've highlighted previously, range of different classes and so on, that comes to that, So basically, the more experience you have, the better it is. If it is post-CELTA experience, it's more reliable, right? If it is something done before the CELTA, like you took CELTA a year ago, and now you're thinking whether you're ready to take Delta or not, well, it's hard to say, right? But, different people have different areas of strength. How it is reliable or not, the center will decide, the trainers will decide, if we talk about Delta Model 2. So there will be an application process. You apply for the course, you do certain tasks, you'll be invited for an interview, and so on and so forth, and then the decision will be made. So this is it. Let's focus on all three models step by step, and then I'll focus on model 1 because it's something that you can prepare on your own for. Yeah. So model 1 is a test, as I have already mentioned, and the key idea is to test, to assess your understanding, how deep it is, how clear your understanding is of language, methodology, principles behind teaching, anything related to ELT, right? Model 2 has a practical component. You will have to attend some input sessions. You will have to attend the course, the whole course, and you will be given some lessons to real students, right? As I have already said, there will be 4 lessons altogether. For each lesson, you'll be writing a background essay, an assignment, which is relatively long if we compare that to CELTA essays, something like 2,500 words. So for each lesson, you'll be producing that essay and also preparing your lesson plan, and you'll be busy in delivering, evaluating, and developing. Yeah, so it's intense. There will be also some experimental practice. There will be some other tasks and assignments throughout the course. So don't worry, the trainers will keep you busy. If you're ready for that, yeah, dive into this. Yeah. Delta Model 3 is an extended assignment. Yeah, an extended assignment, which means you will have to produce an essay, which might be a course design. Yeah, as I've mentioned, my specialism. Yeah, so extended practice and ELT specialism. So you design a course of study for that teaching context that you've selected to focus on. Or you can choose to focus on ELT management. And that might be really appealing for those of you who run a school, who are already a director of studies or something like that. Yeah, and that might be a good alternative to just designing a course of study. So let's focus on the model you can actually prepare on your own. Yeah, for. Again, Delta Model 1 is a test. It may look similar to TKT, and those of you who've taken TKT and achieved band 4, so perhaps you can start thinking, if in the multiple choice answers there weren't any options, yeah, would I have been able to identify the right thing? Yeah, if yes is the answer, then probably you are ready for Delta. Yeah, but again, the areas are the same, the tasks are a lot deeper, more evaluative. You have to look at everything with a critical eye. And I'll give you a flavor of that. Yeah, I'll share a couple of things that you may see there. To be able to pass the course with flying colors, you'll have to demonstrate a good understanding of the theories, methodologies behind first language acquisition. Yeah, don't get surprised. Second language acquisition, approaches, different types of presentation techniques, just teaching techniques in general, assessment tools, yeah, different terminology related to things like that. Lesson frameworks, different types of lessons, yeah, if you teach reading or writing or some systems like functional language, for example, as Katerina has mentioned, yeah, and so on and so forth. So the list is endless. I can't list everything you might be assessed on, yeah. We know only the task format. We only know some areas, but we don't know everything that they may give you to evaluate and answer some questions on, right? So it's like CPE for language learners. That's what Delta for teachers is like. So my expectations might be, I want to find out more what the exam is like. Okay, get the handbook. Yeah, go to the website and find the handbook. It's free. Find some sample papers. Yeah. There are some, of course, online, well, there are some websites basically with some tips and recommendations what you can do. So you can do it on your own. If the answers make sense in the handbook, if you can see the examiner's comments, yeah, and again, it helps, yeah, then probably you can do it on your own. However, if you find a teacher training center, those who run Delta courses, yeah, perhaps you can be guided, yeah, and there will be more tips on what to write, how to approach each task, in what format to answer, and so on. Now, let's make a kind of summary, an overview of what Delta Model 1 is like. There are two parts, two sections, yeah, and each of them is 1 hour and a half long, and there will be a break between them. Yeah, it'll take you more than 3 hours to sit the test and answer all the questions. You'll be given a question booklet, yeah, and an answer sheet booklet so that you can write there right away. Yeah, don't waste time making comments like in TKT in the question booklet because you don't have much time, honestly. The content is relatively predictable, yeah, but it's different every year. So how many exam tasks you can find online, I don't know. There aren't many, unfortunately, officially published. But obviously, the more the better, right? To give you a range, to give you a flavor what it is like, we'll look at a couple of them in a moment. Yeah, I've mentioned the handbook, you know, Cambridge website, and a couple of websites that I've mentioned previously you can find online, like the blog A to Z from Scott Thornberry's, and he also wrote a book with the same name, yeah, and there are some other books by Scott Thornberry that are well recommended for this level. Okay. Let's have a look at the first task. It is the easiest, very straightforward. And we're going to see how much you know about ELT terminology, right? You'll be given 6 definitions. You will have to identify the terms right away. And you will have to provide the terms, yeah? If you can recognize the concepts right away, just write your answers and move on, because that task is not valuable. However, if you can't come up with that, you can guess, and again, you move on. Yeah, you won't be earning too many points here, so that's not worth bothering. However, it's quite an interesting task. It shows how well prepared you are for the course, yeah, for the test. So have a look at the slide with this word cloud. And about the time to submit the task, if we talk about Delta Model 1 and Delta Model 3, there are 2 times during the year, in December and in June, where you can take it. I think this year it's going to be the 7th of December. So you can submit Delta Model 3 before that time, before that date, and you sit the exam on the 7th of December. Yeah. Anyway, have a look at this word cloud. If you know all of the terms or most of the terms, yeah, here, that's a very good sign, perhaps. Yeah, that's good. Now, the second level is, can you give a definition for each of them? And then the third level of challenge, can you exemplify it? Can you illustrate it, right? So that's what you'll have to do in task 2. In task 1, you'll be given a definition. In task 2, you will have to give a definition and an example, right? So let's have a look at a couple of terms here. I'm going to elicit at least one of them. Yeah, let's see. Let's focus on methodology-related term. It's an approach which emphasizes the importance of using a communicative task. And the task is the basic unit for language learning, for planning, for teaching. Basically, that's the core task Yeah, TBL, well done. Yeah, awesome. Okay. I can see in the chat box that some of you are typing the familiar terms as far as I understand, yeah? So there is some kind of familiarity with different terms. I created this word cloud on purpose, yeah? The terms, the concepts come from different areas. There are terms related to methodology such as SLA, TBL, CLT, yeah? There are terms related to assessment like face validity, for example, placement test, yeah? Backwash. There are phonology-related terms. By the way, phonology-related terms, who can identify some of them here? What are they? Not many people recognize that, I can see. Intrusion, yes, well done, yeah. There are a couple of other terms actually, you can see schwa, tonic syllable, yes, awesome. Well, ellipsis, technically speaking, in a discourse type of term, yeah, the concept that we will use in discourse analysis. But anyway, this is it. So I can create 5 categories for you, but we don't have much time. So this is your homework. If you come up with a definition and an example, perhaps you're ready for taking Delta model, model 1, right? And again, to give you a flavor of what it is really like, yeah, it looks like this. So here are the definitions. And you can also see some examples for each definition. And you have to come up with a term. In this case, you will have to write only 1 or 2 word answers. Yeah, it's just quite a straightforward test. Theory mostly here, yeah. For this part, yes, of course, yeah. Your background knowledge of different terminology, terms, concept related to ELT, assessment, history of ELT, teaching approaches and methods and so on. So if you want, you can do it later because you'll receive, well, B is not a task, I'm afraid. D is correct, it's in an intransitive verb, yeah. Good. Okay, so yeah, you have some answers correct. Well done, well done. So we have some confusion, what a homophone and I don't remember which tone you use, but something similar, right? A homophone is what the sound of the words is the same, yes, C in both cases. Yeah, we pronounce C, but the spelling is different, the meaning is different. That's a homophone, right? Then we have back channeling, direct test, CLIL. Maybe you know some other acronyms for the same thing. It stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. And if you recognize English as a medium of instruction or content-based instruction, so it's all the same. It's all about CLIL. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So having considered the task, which requires just a 1 or 2 word response, think about this task. Yeah, it comes from the middle of paper 1, task 3, as you can see. What you have to do is to come up with 3 key features of discourse. This is a speaking task that perhaps you've used with your students, and if you have run a lesson using these materials, you probably remember what you had to supply students with. Maybe some functional language, yeah. Maybe you helped them take turns, yeah. Maybe you did something else to help them, to support them linguistically, yeah, and content-wise. And that's what you have to highlight, the features that students need to be aware of, yeah. I often use that task with my trainees, and here is one of the responses, and that's what it'll look like, yeah. So some kind of signposting, for example, functions for opinions, giving opinions or asking for opinions, yeah. Some kind of discourse management devices, yeah, like feelers, or they might be something else, grammar-wise, vocabulary-wise, discourse-wise. Yeah. If we talk about speaking, they might be also phonology-related things. Yeah. But that's beyond that, because we're looking, we are trying to have a bird's view. Yeah. Big picture, what they need. 3 key areas. So that's what it is. Yeah. A longer response. That's what it looks like. Now, let's focus on discourse analysis, because that's something neglected quite often in teaching, right? So as Del Himes highlighted a long time ago, yeah, after Chomsky pointed out that linguistic competence is something that we need to work on, yeah, Himes highlighted that we need to create this discourse type of competence and social linguistic competence, and we can also help our students developing strategic competence. So the Riga just figured out that it's a matching task. You're absolutely right. So let's match the left side terms, yeah, competences, and some examples. Yeah, what do they entail? Have a look. So 1C, linguistic competence, of course, it's the systems, yeah, grammar, vocabulary, functional language, phonology, meaning, and so on. Yeah, so 2D, right? Absolutely right, yeah. And then discourse competence, there are 2 Porsche terms, yeah, 2 C's, cohesion and coherence, yeah. Which one actually is about linking devices? Cohesion or coherence? Who can tell me? If you connect ideas in a clear way, yeah, using some kind of conjunctions, will it be cohesion or coherence? What do you demonstrate? Cohesion. Well done. Yes. Yes. Okay. Awesome. So you see, I think we have a well-prepared audience today. Yeah. So you know what's behind communicative competence and discourse analysis, what we can consider there. Of course, teachers are well aware of what grammar, yeah, is behind different type of tasks. We teach that a lot, we focus on that a lot. And here you can see some examples that you can highlight in that particular task that I showed previously, right? Like modal verbs, to speculate, to talk about possibilities and other things. Maybe some other structures, like, for example, complex sentences with conditionals, yeah, maybe reported speech. Maybe you have to compare some of the things, as there were some things related to kids learning English, right, and so on. So grammar, which is part of the linguistic competence, is one of the possible ways of identifying features, but there will be also, of course, vocabulary and phonology. Now, I've just gave you a very brief overview. What can I do in 30 minutes only, right? What you may see in Delta Model 1 and also in some other models, what they're like. The question is, what can be done independently, right? Of course, you can find, as Ekaterina was saying about TKT preparation, the same tips I can give, yeah? You can find a study buddy, for example, yeah? You can allocate some time in the morning for reading ELT books, yeah? You can also evaluate your own lessons and plan them more consciously, like what's behind that, yeah? Do I have to use this task or not? What for? What's the purpose of each task? Things like that. I think it's good to have a group of teachers to share ideas with. That's how you can become more reflective and open-minded, because we all have different views, yeah? And if you look at a different perspective on the same thing, perhaps you can benefit from that. Yeah, you can also start blogging, yeah, sharing ideas with teachers. And if you open a kind of discussion thread, again, you can learn from others. Right, and some of the benefits of Delta. Well, I guess they're obvious, as any professional development activity, and that's what teachers have to do, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's a never-ending process. Yeah, you can't stay at the expert level if you think you are there. You can't stay there without doing some professional development activity, right? So perhaps it's a kind of guarantee that you are still on track, you're catching up with the news, new methodologies, and so on, yeah, you can become better aware of what you're doing, more consciously involved in teaching and learning, yeah, processes, and choose the techniques wisely. Mm-hmm. Some of the sources that I've mentioned, including Scott Thornberry's sources, and some other things that you may find familiar. Sometimes I recommend them for CELTA trainees if they're strong enough. Here, what we've got, I've mentioned some phonological terms, for example. So here are some sources, for example, Peter Roach's books. Then we've talked about lesson planning. So there is one book on that. But again, there are better sources, more sources, yeah, something deeper on how languages are learned here by Lightbound and Spada, or about language if you want to focus on language awareness more. Mm-hmm. Oh, Olga, you were really lucky. Yeah, yeah, awesome. So basically, that's it. If you've read most of these books already and reflected on that, and can sort of answer some of the questions that were posed in those sources, then perhaps you're ready for the challenge. So that's what Delta is like. Delta Model 1 is really manageable if you read a lot, if you keep working on your professional development, if you have already a couple of years of experience beyond CELTA, yeah, and also if you are an enthusiastic teacher and open-minded person in general, that can help. So thank you very much, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, thank you for your thanks in the chat box. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's impossible task for you, Anna, to explain 3 Delta modules in 30 minutes. That's impossible. I mean, that's a challenge.
It was, yeah, it was. I wanted just to give a hint on a couple of things, the most important aspects, the differences, and also, you know, Delta Model 1 is more manageable, and yeah, candidates can prepare themselves and find a trainer, teacher training center, and just register and take the test.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah, the first one is in December. That is coming. Great. Okay. Right. So thanks a lot, dear participants. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend our webinars. Our dear teacher trainers, your presence made this event just a great success, and your enthusiasm and professionalism helped make our time together both very productive, very useful, and funny sometimes. So we'll meet you tomorrow at our next day. So we'll be talking about C1 Advanced, LinguaSkill, and Cambridge English online courses. So see you tomorrow. All the recordings, certificates will be sent to you shortly. Thanks a lot. We'll just leave a couple of minutes for Anna to enjoy, all the feedback. Yeah, so thanks a lot. Have a lovely evening. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Enjoy your evening, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot. Goodbye. Goodbye all. Thank you.